Okay, let's get into it. According to Variety, Wells Fargo media analyst Stephen Cahall, who the recognizes Warner Brothers as a prime acquisition target for the lone and standalone Warner Brothers portion. I think that's referring to the streaming and studios portion. All right, Variety reports that Netflix is seen as the most compelling buyer, where Cahall named Netflix ranks its interest higher than Amazon, Apple, Comcast, Sony, and Paramount Skydance. Not only does the New York Post back this claim, but this comes when the entertainment industry is bracing for massive shifts, where tech companies are using this situation as an opportunity to scoop up film studios at bargain basement prices. Even Apple is interested in Disney. Skydance is a tech company as a result of Oracle, and Netflix is seen as a tech company as well, and Comcast owns Universal. The Warner Brothers Discovery split lines up with what most analysts have already confirmed. It's exactly what makes it attractive for acquisition, especially by a content giant such as Netflix. However, it does open the door for Zack Snyder's DC return to become a realistic possibility than it was when Zaslav and Gunn took over, especially since he's found a home making films such as Rebel Moon, Army of the Dead, and the animated series Twilight of the Gods. So it could be seen as a win-win for Netflix, DC studio fans, and Snyder fans, so as well as Snyder himself. The move could help reignite interest in reviving the Snyderverse if they were to own the studio and the IPs outright, and greenlight the ignored and canceled DC projects that were currently left off the slate of their own interests. If the studio were to see the value in multiple continuities, as it does with many series, animations, animation shows and movies and spin-offs, there's nothing that could stop a scenario where Snyder characters and arcs could return in some type of form. All right? So this means that there could be a real possibility for Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2 and 3 that could actually be seen, as well as Ben Affleck's version of the Batman. All right? But that wouldn't necessarily mean that James Gunn's DCU would end either. It's been known that Netflix has been able to support large-scale franchises, which would likely want as much DC content as possible to fuel their platform. A dual track approach could serve different audiences. Gunn's continuity on one side, and Snyder's fan favorite dark tone on the other. If Netflix could have the DC IP under its control, Netflix could push the need to maintain volume, variety, and vision all at once. As it's already been suggested before, James Gunn's approach to fast tracking his DCU slate makes Warner Brothers look more attractive than it really is ahead of a potential sale. His move appears to be moving quickly to get his slate into production, which could boost the studio's perceived value before Warner Brothers and DC Studio changes hands. So, this lines up with what I've been saying all along, and what a lot of people who are not interested or exciting about James Gunn's tone overall, and it's more authoritative than it is opening towards the point of variety. Okay, so this just speaks volumes to what everybody's been saying, and this is a realistic opportunity for Snyder to come in and since he's already made a home there. They already know the relationship with him. They already know the relationship that that fans of his material. It gives him an opportunity to keep doing what he was doing before. Okay, so and this also speaks volumes to the fact is that Netflix takes risks. That's what made it successful. Okay, it's what made it successful. That's why it is, out of all the streaming, it's number one. It's better than the legacy studios, which is funny because the legacy studios thought that they could do the exact same thing, and now all of them are struggling and having to find another home or find somewhere else to build a merger. They're either struggling trying to do the exact same thing with little results. So Netflix is a perfect place where it seems to be that Zaslav and Warner Bros. Just has a history and a legacy of undermining its own material and its own customers by sacrificing the content for the sake of their own interests. And this just shows that Netflix can actually benefit from that by actually taking the IPs that have been neglected, putting them all under one banner, and making people to accept it. The whole point of DC Studios is being able to have diverse voices and diverse tones, and to have a variety of characters where people have the choice to show to be actually to encourage the characters that they want to see, to encourage the stories that they want to see. And this makes a perfect opportunity. You don't have to like Zack Snyder to do this. Just like I don't have to like James Gunn, and I have the opportunity to be able to follow DC without having to deal with somebody's tone all the way through. I have that choice. This actually, if this were to go under the way that I would like it to, I would like this opportunity. I like this scenario, the way the article lays it out. Okay? That gives me the opportunity to decide what I like and what I don't like, and everything else. Somebody else has the opportunity to be able to pick something else if they don't agree with it. Okay? Because Elseworlds, labeling one as Elseworlds and one as the one that's going with continuity, that allows for people to have opinions and also to be able to take to see what they want to see out of their characters. Okay? But again, I'm skeptical of this because everything does not always go as follow. Everything does not always go as according to plan as the way we see it, because overall it's their money. So they're going to decide what they're going to do with their money and decide who they want to put in control, because they have their own interests and their own goals of what they want to meet. So if Netflix were to take over, it would change streaming forever. Okay? This means that it would be real competition for Disney. And since Marvel has a declining slate, which is banking everything on Avengers Doomsday, this will allow them the perfect opportunity to show that they will be an actual driving force that will actually probably make Disney get their stuff together. This will make them see how they can compete by actually prioritizing the quality of Marvel and Star Wars, as well as their other Disney projects, to show Netflix came in here, now they're making us work. So this will be a perfect opportunity to compete for our dollar, to get those fans back, and to make sure that they can actually show that they're invested in the customer, in the consumer. All right? You want the fans back? Give them what they want. If this goes according to the scenario, that should be the goal. Okay? So, especially since Netflix is the main reason why the legacy studios are struggling to stay afloat, to do the exact same thing, but as I said before, to get the same result. But they're not doing that. As I stated before in my other video, Zaslav has been planning this sale for a long time, and James Gunn has basically probably been, he was probably going according to plan, because this will actually secure his seat if Paramount were to take over, because it would actually make sure that he would stay in place. I will say this, even though I'm skeptical of both deals, because we're dealing with corporate interests, we're dealing with corporate entities, I would prefer Netflix to take it over than Paramount Skydance. That's just my opinion, okay? Because I think with Paramount being a legacy studio, they know what they want to do. They know what plan they're going to go with, and and with legacy studios, people are less likely to take risk, and we're already struggling as far as content and being able to find something that we want to get, when even not even just with Warner Brothers, but just also with Paramount Skydance and Apple and Amazon. They're just basically trying to hold on to what they think is going to secure them a profit, and it usually doesn't always turn out that way. Look at all the Marvel projects that came out. Look at all the Star Wars projects. It's just inundated with a whole bunch of stuff that we never really asked for, and people are just using the opportunity to put out what they just want to put out. Okay, so this will help. If Netflix were to do this, it would help them. It would make them bigger than they were before, and the very mention of it could help boost Warner Brothers stock price. I don't know what it looks like today, but when the announcement showed that Zaslav wanted a bidding war and Paramount Skydance was interested in it, it boosted up to $18 last week. Okay, so this will help Warner Brothers stock price be raised, and at the same time be able to gain interest, because I believe this overall, that in this scenario, the way I want to look at it as a win-win, I believe this serves everybody's interest, but more importantly, the consumer and the fans. Because with all due respect, that's all I care about. Because again, as a consumer and as a fan of this stuff, I want to make sure that I get my time and my money, and I get the full value of it. But overall, this is a win-win. If this scenario, under my optimistic scenario of this, because the money gets made, the people get the real value for the money, where people get to choose variety and diversity of all choices under the DC Studios brand, where Zack Snyder gets the freedom that he did not get before, and he's not undermined. and they're not cutting his film into their own particular vision of what they want to be released. Okay? Ben Affleck has a movie that's coming out, I think it's called The Rip, coming out next year. Zack Snyder's doing a movie, I think it's called The Last Photograph or something like that. So there is already a relationship cemented there with Netflix. So it wouldn't cause complications. And on top of that, like I said before, this allows for multiple directors, multiple actors, multiple script writers to come in and build their own version of it without it interfering or without having to compete with choice. Because overall, people want the opportunity to get what they want without somebody taking over like James Gunn has and just go with my vision and we'll just lay it out. You just have to go with that, right? And he gets to pick the directors that he wants, the writers he wants, the actors he wants, the particular direction of the script that he wants. Everything has to go through him. Under this scenario with Netflix, that would erase all of that, and everybody would be included to take what they want from it and be able to walk away knowing they're getting the full value of their money, getting the full value of their time, and getting the full value of, even if they decide to buy the merchandise, being able to determine what version that they decide they want, not what James Gunn decides they want, nor be able to accept the version that Zaslav has told us that we're supposed to get. Okay? And the very fact that I showed an article that goes back more than 2 years ago that shows that all the stuff that he's been doing, for the very fact that he's been using this whole situation to build a sale, does not look good on Warner Brothers, Zaslav, or James Gunn. It just doesn't. But hopefully we get something out of this, and hopefully that Netflix will be able to course correct and change a lot of the stuff that's going on. And if you guys like James Gunn, guess what? If they bring him over, you guys get the opportunity over a Netflix banner where he can be able to bring out Peacemaker, his version of Superman, his version of the characters, and we get what we want to finish out the Snyderverse, as well as bringing along with Patty Jenkins, James Wan, and David Ayer, and we get to be able to have it all played out, and we get to accept what we want. So it's a win-win-win overall. Okay? But we don't know if this is true or not. We don't know if Netflix has actually put in a bid and how much interest they've shown into it. But I just wanted to bring this out because I think that the very fact of where the DC fan base is pretty much divided, and we're divided because the fact is there are a lack of choices, and a lot of people don't like, myself included, do not like the way where James Gunn has taken the DCU. All right, so this is all I got so far. Again, I'm going to stay on top of this, and I'm going to try to provide you with more updates on the DC universe, Marvel universe, and other movie universes. Okay. Until the next video, peace.